this is probably bowing. So what you're probably getting is this wood strong enough, but the stiffness isn't there, so it's bending, so you're relying a lot on the floor sheathing.
Okay.
So that's just kind of one of those things where, you know, and like this is out of plumb, and so you've got a lot of, this was a framed basement back in the day, right? And they were supposed to put in a middle support, and it looks like the dirt might have gotten in their way, and they kind of were like, well, like, I mean, I could just tell you right now, they probably got to this dirt and were like, we're not going to do this anymore.
Okay.
Right? I mean, you kind of just, that makes sense. And then coming through here, they had all this, you know, electrical and all this good stuff, and they had this covering, who knows why, because you got all this HVAC stuff, so they stopped that there.
Got it.
Right? And it's like, well, but you shouldn't have done that. This beam being the central beam, they didn't have a choice. I'm sure that they were like, no, you've got to do that.
That's, yeah.
And then this back here, kind of the same deal. They went back as far as they could, and then they got to that metal pipe thing, and then they stopped it.
Yeah. So did all these supports come in after the fact, after it was built?
No, these would have been during the build. You know, a lot of times, it happens a lot in roof construction too, where like in the middle of the build, they'll be like, oh man, that's bending, let's throw in a post.
Got
right?
it.
So you gotta,
just
gotta
an extra support.
Roof,
okay.
where you'll see like, yeah, see, then they switched framing directions. So was this an addition or was this?
This is the addition. That on.
Okay, so we came down this, so that's the front of the house, right?
I think this way.
That's the front of the house?
No. Okay. Yes, this way is the front of the house.
So then you had an addition.
So the addition is actually back.
So this should be part of the original thing.
Yes, this should be. Unless that other side was an addition too. They might have added on, because it was a 1924 originally built.
Yeah, because I mean, they changed directions, which they don't normally do when you're framing a house.
Okay.
And it looks new, like newer wood. I mean, you can take a look
right.
in there, and it's like this. It's like
Yeah.
they look like. I would say this was an addition. The back was an addition, and this was your original build. So we actually have two additions now on this. And they put in this. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back here now.
Yeah, there's not really a lot of clear space.
Yeah, and so here they use 2x12s.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So that's gonna be sturdier.
Well, but they span longer. This is going to be kind of a bit of a bear. Get back there because I need to get back there.
Okay. So will you be writing up a letter for this property right now? Is that what you're talking about doing?
Well, it depends on what you want.
Okay. I mean, that's different than what we've done in the past, right?
Yeah, so normally you guys have me come out and I just talk to you.
Yes.
Right? So you start talking letters, you know, if you do that beam thing, you're going to need a letter. So that's I normally separate those out because if you want an inspection like we're doing right now, right, you know what I'm going to say. It's $100. I come out here, I'm telling you everything you're seeing.
Yeah.
But if you want this stamp to be like, hey guys, I mean, I don't need to do a calc to be like, the floor was originally supposed to be like this with this support going the whole distance. Like, I don't need to do a calc for that. I'm just going to say, hey guys, this we can tell is not complete. It's on one post. This isn't right. This isn't rocket science again. So, you know, with a lot of this stuff, you're going to see me saying, well, I mean, this isn't appropriate. So in a letter like this, I just be going through and saying, you know, this is not really appropriate. That's not appropriate. The off plumb post isn't appropriate. Like all this stuff, you know, this is out of plumb, not appropriate. Right? You've got a lot of stuff that's like, this is perfect. This is good. Right? This pocket looks good, right? We've got a small crack happening here. This is pretty typical though. It's not going anywhere. I don't like this, you know that.
Yeah,
it's a retaining wall without anything retaining it.
Yep.
This is not good, right? They should have done a downturn slab.
Yep.
And they didn't. This over here, you can tell that this was just kind of put in and not reinforced. So this is just like, this is not a true retaining wall, I would say, right? Because you can see it's even kind of bowing out right here. So they should have put reinforcing down as a minimum to stop it from coming apart like this, right? So they should have had a couple bars stabbed down. They don't. You know, you've got You've got the soil problem, so I'd reference that saying, you know, you've got soil within contact of the wood on that side. You can see you've got some cracking happening. So going in here now on the center one, right, there's a crack for your foundation. There's a crack for your foundation. There's a crack for your foundation. So you have had settlement here, more substantial than the exterior really led us to believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
That and that look a bit bigger. So this is probably pretty heavily loaded in the middle here. I'd imagine that that's going all the way to the roof. Let's check in here. You know, like you've got, I don't even know what, this looks like it's a wood retaining wall. Right? So none of this is appropriate.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody came in here, wanted a bit more space, dug this out, it looks like.
And then just put up plywood almost.
Yeah, it's put up plywood to get back in here.
Yeah.
So this is probably the addition or something, right?
Yes.
So they matched and then put in these temporary supports, which is, I mean, so, you know, this is where it gets tough for me because I'm going to go and be like, well, I mean, this doesn't seem appropriate. It seems to be working, but it's not appropriate, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of tell that. Don't retain soil with wood.
Yeah.
Especially just like that. I mean, do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, so you've got that. It's still in good shape, you know, so we've got some of the slab is cracking here, so you can tell that, you know, you're definitely getting soil movement on that end because it's going down that way. You know, this is an old style, like more of a temporary, you know, mining.
That's what it looks like.
Like
what it feels
retaining,
like.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, and we can totally tell this is bowing out, right? You can just see that visually by this piece of lumber. It's like, yeah, this has definitely got load on it and it's bowing. Now, whether that's structurally deficient or anything, I can tell you right now, it's not going to pass any numbers I throw at it. But it's one of those where we live in a clay area, so clay, you can see you can do, where's that? You can see you can do a vertical cut, right? And that'll stay for a while. Probably as long as it doesn't get wet, that'll stay like that. If it ever does get wet, it'll just crumble on you.
Uh-huh.
You know, and then the question is, how deep does this foundation wall go? Because it looks like this is the bottom of the footing, right? See, that's concrete.
Yeah.
And this is dirt.
Yeah.
So, you know, what that tells me is that you've got, this is inappropriate, right? Because you've got nothing really, it's just this dirt supporting this, and the way a foundation works, it's supposed to spread out like this, right? So you should be having something here, and you don't. So I don't like to see that. The one thing I'm not too worried about, though, is since you have this hole right here, right, this is probably area isn't loaded, but once again, we go to here, it's like, well, this definitely shouldn't be resting on this.
Okay.
Right? So just kind of, you know, just these little things where it's like, well, it looks like when they did the addition or something, that this was haphazardly put in.
Yeah.
Right? It's just supported on this 4x4 post, which is fine. I mean, it's working. It's just, you can kind of see. So here's another big crack, right?
Yep.
You just punched a lot of holes in this thing. Okay, so now I'm going to try and get back into the space
Okay.
here real quick. See if I can figure some stuff out. Central beam. I've got, so you have a lot of efflorescence at that front corner. This was definitely an addition because you're on a spread footing for this central beam. And then they go exterior, so you've got, yeah, okay. 2x10s at? Okay, so I'm not going to be able to tell what that central beam is. This is uninspectable because of the HVAC they put in. You can see that. I just can't squeeze through that. Yep. So this floor system looks pretty good. We'll have to measure the whole thing and make some assumptions there, but I'm not too worried about this. This looks like about 12 feet with a 2x10. So to kind of give you an idea, that is doing the same thing that this is supposed to be doing. Right, because they're going, I'd imagine they're going about 10 to 12 feet this way to a central beam and another 10 to 12 feet. We can measure upstairs to get that figured out. Yeah. But with that, it's like that took 2x10s at 16, our typical construction. This is 2x6s.
Got it.
So, right, you don't need to be an engineer to be like, why would they need 2x10s over there at 16 right. And then this is okay with 2x6s? Why wouldn't they do the whole thing out of 2x6s, right? Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say. If you ask for a letter, I'm going to say that this is an undersized floor, okay. Right, to current code. Yeah. It appears to be performing, right, because it's like we're not seeing excessive deflection, but I'm going to, here in a second, I'm going to run out and get my level and make sure that we don't have a slope issue here. But, you know, stuff like this is just kind of just drives me nuts.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't happy to see that. And just a crumbling retaining wall.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
To see that, but 16. I'm just taking these down in case you guys are like, actually, we'd like you to analyze some stuff that way.
For sure.
There isn't. I don't need to come back out here. Yeah. Okay, so the other hard thing that's going to be for me to take off is exactly where all this stuff is located. You know, a lot of these times when people come down here, they'll just start 58. So 4 foot 10 inches. 10 inches. That must be 9 feet. Okay. You know, so yeah, let me go grab that level. Let me see if I've got one.
Okay. You were saying though, a lot of times people will
just come down in here. So right,
yeah.
This was original. This is probably what they had.
Yep.
The original basement right here was probably a chimney or something for the coal fire or boiler or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. They probably came in here and they're like, this was all crawl space or something right here. That's why we have a step, right? They probably were like, we want more storage space, right? So they just come out here and they just start digging it out. Okay. The reason why I'm saying that is your foundation is here, right? This is original construction. You can see that it was saw cut or demoed or something happened here, right? And then all of a sudden the footing is this low, right? So this was probably a wall going this way. and soil was up this high.
Got
because
it.
why is this different from that?
Uh-huh.
Right? So they came in here, and the other reason they probably did it was for this new HVAC unit and water heater, right? So they wanted to update the system.
Right, before it was probably wood stove or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly, right?
Okay.
So then all of a sudden they're like, well, we need more space, so let's just dig this out, so because we could see that this is the level of soil for the crawl space.
Yes.
You can see it on that side, and you can see all this stuff looks like it was haphazardly done. It doesn't look like the nice solid concrete wall we have over here,
Yep.
or over even there. You know, so it's like, okay, so this was a change to the structure. So now who knows what they changed, right? Because we might have had this piece come the whole way down, and they came in here and
It
they were
could have
just
been.
like,
They needed the piping.
yeah,
or
there was a
whatever.
post here, there was a post here, there was a post there, and they're like, well, we can't use this space without getting rid of all this stuff,
Got it. Okay.
right? So then they're like, okay, get rid of it then.
Yep.
They didn't get it checked because, you know, you could totally do this without a permit, right? In the basement, nobody's going to know what you're doing.
For sure.
So they had somebody come in, and then you go to this area right here where it's like, okay, and so this is when they were installing all the new HVAC, right, coming down. So you can see all this piping. So they installed this, right, so they can get back here. And they didn't want to excavate it all out.
Got it.
Because it's a crawl space.
Yep.
So this to me was haphazardly done
Uh-huh.
to make space. You know, like I mean, so you've got your old school plumbing right here. So this, I mean, you can see that this was not original. This was all done by somebody, and this was not done correctly.
Okay.
This is a temporary solution for shoring. This is, you know, like once you have this, then you put concrete up against it, right? Like this is holding back the dirt, and you just pour a concrete
Right.
wall against it with forms and stuff, and then you pull this away or you leave it in, right? That's typically how you do it. They just did this because they were like, well, we can just shore it up, and it seems to work because we
Okay.
have this soil, right? So they're like, well, we can cut it straight, so all we need now is some boards. Well, this is moved,
Right.
right? Because they wouldn't have installed it like that. They would have cut a straight line. So, you know, it's probably this is probably moved because we surcharged the foundation with this piece, right? This is like right here. It's going down deep, right? I mean, this is even burnt, right, and split. So who knows what that's doing, right? But you can see the angle of it. So what would happen if this is pushing at it like this or loading it all, right, at this angle, what's it doing to this wall? It's pushing on it this way, right, and bringing it out
Pulling
more.
Yeah.
And then you've got this load here, which is also pushing down, which pushes out as well. Plus you have your foundation here, which seems to, here's the footing, right? There's the footing. So this is also pushing on this wall. This should be a retaining wall.
Okay.
I can't say it enough, but it's working, right?
Yeah.
It is working. So it's that tough thing where if I were to write a letter for you, I'd be saying, hey, this doesn't look good, this doesn't look good, this doesn't look good, that doesn't look good, that's definitely not good. There have been obviously modifications to, like, since this is all new, right, I think this is asbestos tape, be careful of that.
Okay.
You know, once again, I'm more the realist on this, like,
Yeah.
you know,
And that's
like-
that's what I want to hear too.
yeah, the people
for
that
sure.
get the cancer are the ones that are in the factories, right? Like if this stuff, as long as it's not disturbed, won't hurt you. And even if you rip it off, you're still not gonna. That one-time thing isn't gonna.
That's
kill
not
you.
cancer.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
cancer right away. I
Yeah.
mean, if you were down and doing these flips all the time,
Yeah.
then you should start getting worried when you see it.
Okay.
But so for this, you know, it's kind of one of those things where, yeah, like a lot of this was just done haphazardly.
So can you do a quick rundown of what you would do to strengthen? I mean, obviously a concrete retaining wall here.
Yeah, so you know, so you'd have to, so putting in a retaining wall is more than just putting in a retaining wall, right? We want a footing here too.
Okay.
And then you need to temporarily support this. So, you know, I'd almost say cut this line, put in a retaining wall with this behind it, and let this rot, right? Because it's like you just need that, and then deal with the inorganics or whatever, you know, this rotting. I mean, this isn't ideal because it's tough to put this here now with wood, but it should be okay. This stuff, I'd be like, nope, remove and replace, like all this brick stuff. I would say, you know, we're gonna cut back this, you know, 2 feet or so,
And
like
there's a
right
step.
here, so we can do a formed step, right,
Okay.
that lands on it.
Yeah.
We'd be adding in, so this is the real counter right here, right? We'd be adding in a middle support,
Okay.
and that would just destroy this space.
Yeah.
Right, so then this wouldn't even be usable. So, because this is not appropriate, right? And then the same would be on this side too. You can see originally, this looks original, right here, right? And it looks like they just cut this, right there to right
Yeah.
there. So like that, I mean, that's what my letter would say. This would all need to be redone. You know, with a retaining wall again. You'd probably want to excavate out a bit more. That would be a bear of a project. This
Jeez.
actually looks okay. One thing that makes me nervous though is that well, no, this should be totally okay because it's an independent system. You've got a spread footing there, and your joists are running this way, right? So they're running like this.
Okay.
So that's loading new foundation, new foundation, new foundation. So this part of the structure doesn't add any load, so that's totally fine. So that's not a big problem.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So that's what I'd say down here. Let me go grab my level though, make sure we're not dealing with a saggy floor.
Sounds good.